Hello everybody, thank you for joining me. It's me, Stephen Englander again, with our live chat on Thursday at 7 o'clock. It's been particularly interesting today because we're now streaming live through Facebook, and next week we'll be streaming live to LinkedIn. So apparently that should double my viewers, so welcome the two of you. It's also been an interesting setting up time because they've been moaning about, or the studio staff have been moaning about the background, saying it's looking a bit sparse. I mean, I don't know if you think it looks a bit sparse, but then I said, what's the problem with it looking sparse? And they said, well, they might think we've had bailiffs in. So I said, why would they think that? And our PR guy said, because a lot of people know you. I thought, charming, thank you very much. But I'd like to just let's have a quick review of what we've done this week. We've had a great podcast with Simon Edmondson from the Federation of Small Business, and he explained all about the Federation of Small Business. I am a member. As usual, I join these things, but never use them. But now I think, yeah, they could be quite useful there. So, do listen to what he's got to say. I'm not trying to pitch them, they're neither here or there to me, but they do offer some good services. We've had Daniel Fitzhenry, all the way from Southampton. He should be going live in the next couple of weeks. He's what's interesting about Daniel is actually looking for businesses that maybe the owner wants to exit from, wants to retire, and he can come along and maybe do some sort of deal with you. So that's good. But we also had a gentleman, a client of mine, who contacted me the other day, and I felt, maybe there's something we can do to help. His name's Begins with P. Hi. And he's got a product whereby he's developing, or he's developed a drink with, is it CBD oil, and he's made it halal and all sorts of things, and he's just looking to raise funding for this. And I said, I'm the world's worst person to come to for funding. But it got me thinking. It got me thinking of a show that we could actually come up where people could come on. We could guide you into maybe pitching your idea or structuring it, or even if you wanted to sell your business, or even if you wanted to develop anything and you're looking for investors or buyers, maybe we could do like a Dragon's Den type show where we pitch people and we pitch what they're doing, and obviously we're not looking to make a fool of anyone. We're looking to make genuine, show what your products are in the best light, so maybe we can get somewhere with it. So I think that's a really great idea, and I mentioned it to a couple of people, and then every time I mention it to someone, they want to come on and pitch their product. It's once they've got a pitch, it can go on crowdfunding. I've got a list of people who are always looking to invest in things, but they've got to be good things, so we can bring out that idea. So if you do have any ideas that you want to raise money for, or you want some extra help developing, it's a free service. Come and have a chat with us. So I thought that could go somewhere quite good. We've got a few interesting people that have contacted me to come on our show, so I take that as quite a compliment. I've got a gentleman called Godfrey who's very big on singers from the 80s, 90s, 20s, and he's looking for he promotes bands, and he's coming on to tell us how he does that. We've had some interesting people on that and some nice music as well, so there's something. And of course we've got my old friend Abid, who's been a client for some nearly 30 years, and he's coming back to tell you all about how he's made money and how he's worked in the shoe business. He was moaning about the rates people trying to stitch him up this afternoon, but he can tell you all about it as well. If you do have problems with the rates people, I mean, they are murder, honestly. I shouldn't say this online, but there we go. Right, anyway, in today's business news, we have Pretty Little Thing, owned by Boohoo, and everyone seems to be up in the air. There's been a sort of big outcry because they've been selling dresses for 8p, 7p, and shoes for 25p. And people have been saying this throwaway fashion, this fast fashion, and how it's killing everything, and they should be banned from doing it. And I've been asked a couple of times over the last few days, what do I think about it? And I think the market should decide. I think what you've got to look at is that when someone produces a dress to retail at 7p, they're obviously not producing it at 7p or less. They're obviously paying more for that product, so people are not necessarily being exploited, which is part of the problem. That's why people are in uproar, and they're not necessarily using any more materials than they use in society anyway. So if someone's selling a dress for 7p and shoes for 25p, then they're losing money. They're losing money hand over fist. I mean, it must be part of a bigger plan, a bigger marketing plan. It must be. I mean, years ago we used to call them loss leaders, and we sell something cheap. People come into your premises to buy that, and while they're there, they buy other things. I mean, look at the publicity that Pretty Little Things are getting. So maybe it's not as people see. So I don't have a political opinion on this. I don't even see that it'll affect other traders, because they're undercutting people, and obviously people go to the cheapest place, because I don't think people generally buy fashion on price. I think they buy where they buy. And I think that when people think that people are buying on price, I think they're getting the mixed messages. So I think, and this is a little bit of what I'm going to talk about soon, but looking at what they call Pretty Little Thing, if they want to go and sell dresses for 7p, then good luck to them. And if it creates some talking about them, remember, all publicity is good publicity in the end. But it's about who would spend 25p on a pair of shoes. I don't know if I would. I can't see them being particularly stylish, and it's not why I buy shoes, and I can't imagine them being particularly good quality. But it's up to them. I think someone mentioned something that's a bit like that a lot of people are out there and they don't want to buy new stuff for there. There's a trend with people to buy second-hand clothes. And Graham Booth has come in. Hi, Graham, you okay? And so now that people are buying second-hand goods because it's fashionable, just think of this: you're not necessarily saving the environment or helping. I mean, there's whole industries throughout the world, like in Africa, where there's so much second-hand clothing going there that the industries of manufacturing clothes have been killed off. So, and that loses people's jobs, and that kills a lot of business for a lot of people. So it's not as people see. Buying second-hand, great if it's what you want, but it's not necessarily helping anybody. Manufacture, good, because it helps with jobs, it helps with production, you get new things all the time. Bad, maybe because resources are being used in the environment. But it's a different argument to what we're hearing in the news. If you want to buy second-hand clothes, it's a decision. If you want to buy new clothes for 7p, it's a decision. The market will decide, and the market almost always gets it right in the end. If it doesn't, that's where government come in and legislate. So there we have it. That's my tuppence hate me tonight. So now what we're looking at is I want to just have a chat about this, because it is a big thing with people. It's a bit subtle. Sometimes I've walked into a business, I've walked into a shop, I've walked into a warehouse, I've walked into wherever it is that I'm going to be doing business, and you sort of know, can I do business with these people? And sometimes you just know you just can't do business with them. They're not necessarily bad people, but sometimes other people instinctively, straight away, this guy's going to look after me, this lady's going to look after me, she cares about what I want, she's not going to sell me anything that that's no good for me, they're going to look after me. And it's funny how sometimes you can go into places and you can feel the warmth or the cold, and there are things that we can do that. And it comes down to communication, because I think a lot of people are very bad at communicating. And I'm sorry to say that, and you're probably saying that's not the case. Oh, Chris has joined us. Hi, Chris, how are you? But it's about business is about relationships. You create good relationships quickly and purposefully, and you'll be able to create clients and customers and business. If you don't connect, then the opposite's going to happen. And I'm not looking at people to sell stuff because they're the cheapest on the market, and I'm not looking for people to run a business based on you're the place people came to first. I'm looking at ways of your business growing because people want to deal with you. Now, I've never said watching my shows or dealing with me is going to make you a fortune. That's not my goal. My goal is just to make your business a little bit better. And then once you're a little bit better, you can do the rest. You can make it a lot better. So talking about relationships means you've got to get the communication channels right. And that is so difficult. I mean, I've got kids. A lot of us have kids. And when they're little kids, I understand them. But when they turn into teenagers, I don't know what they're saying to me. I don't understand the language. You know, the Google stuff, they know stuff, they don't remember anything, they have different viewpoints. They've probably got more in common with some kids the same age on the other side of the world from a completely different culture than they do with me. You know, and it's not just the kids, it's people in general, because we're living in a multicultural society where people speak different languages. Not just different languages, but they have different concepts, different ways of expression. I've heard people use words to me in a totally different way that I've ever heard before. I remember when I was studying law a bit, I know I've always heard the word coincidence, meaning it's something happens at random. And when I was looking at the this particular module of the course, they were talking about a coincidence of events, and I thought, what are you talking? I couldn't get the hang about it until the lecturer pronounced it coincidence. And then it's so it's same word but pronounced differently in a different context. So it creates a whole different communication. So how do we get past this this communication issue, especially in small businesses? You know, and I think what we've got to do is go back even further than getting past it. And I'm thinking, why don't we create businesses that cater to a certain community? You know, I think it's very important to bear in mind that there's over 7,000 different languages, cultures, gestures, thought processes, accents, religious backgrounds, all sorts of things. And I think the more we connect with people, the easier it becomes to do business with them, and they overlook your foibles. You know, if you grunt at them, it becomes, oh, that's John. He does grunt a bit. You know what John's like, you know what Bill's like. And even down to people making fun of me before by saying it's sparse because the bailiffs have come up, typical Stephen. You know, they know what I'm like. They know how things work. And it's not that you get away with it, it's just that people understand you better. So just taking some examples, I'm looking at going back many years ago when coffee houses and pubs were where people used to go and meet. But it wasn't necessarily just anybody went and met there. It could be business people went to a certain coffee bar, and maybe artists or scientists went to other coffee bars, and they all mix with people with similar interests and similar mindsets and similar focuses. In fact, this is one of the origins of the stock market. So there is something here. Now, I know probably the community I have most experience with is within the Jewish community. And I know that you go out and eat from, say, a Jewish restaurant or a Jewish takeaway. And I'm sorry, guys, but I don't enjoy that type of food. I think some of it's just awful, you know. And my attitude is, if you take a local takeaway, a kosher takeaway, then they sell kebabs, and I find them rude. I find the orders, they're very inefficient. It's always a mess. I never get the order right. They never get anything right. And for the same kebab at a normal Turkish kebab shop, I'm paying probably 3, maybe 4 times the amount. And you know what? It's not as good. So why do people go there? Well, it's part of that community. The food's kosher, so they've got a fixed market. They've got the market has to go there, so they're competing with other kosher businesses, and kosher food isn't that bad. I just find there is a sort of feeling to the community. There's a belonging to it that goes beyond buying the kebab. So I go in there. I know that guy, I know his family, I know his uncle, I know this. So there's a trust created, even though I know the service is terrible. You know, I remember going to a kosher burger place, I think it was in London, and again, 3 times the price of a normal burger and not quite as good. But there was a sign up, if you want the burger made this way or made that way, or you want it served on time, go to McDonald's, because here we have it how we say we're going to have it. But they can get away with that because they've created that community. And I think this is so important to deal with that community sort of mentality. That way, you're not just selling the product that you're selling. You're selling to a community that's not going to go anywhere else. So start off with the community that you understand best. You see, we go into other areas with this, because it's really about niche. It's not about religion. It's not about even just community. These are things that you have. I mean, look at all these Polish shops that have opened up. They're doing very, very, very successful, and they're gradually growing and growing. And they've become less niche and more mainstream. And what happens is that they open up serving their community. So somebody from Poland opens up, I think it's called a something Polish Schlep, but what they do is they open up these shops, and they're talking to people in the language that they understand, not just Polish, but in the way that they're used to dealing. You know, I remember years ago I had a unit in Bury New Road, and my daughter, she was only 11 at the time, and she wanted to put a little stall. So I got some handbags off my dad, who manufactures them, and she put a stall outside one Sunday morning while I was working. And what happened was, this gentleman came along and he starts haggling with her, but really haggling with her. And she got upset and came in, and the guy that was doing it was mortified that it upset her. And he came in, and it was just his culture. It's just where he'd come from. It's just, didn't mean any offence on it at all. But sometimes if we speak the same language, the same mentality. So you've got the Polish shops, and people go in, and they've got a bit of a taste from home, and it makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. So they walk past several other shops to get there, because they're getting what they want. They're getting what they need. And the owners have created a branding, and they've created something that people go to them. So when times are hard, that people are looking after the community shops and the community businesses. And this attitude goes down to traders as well. You get all sorts of people doing electric, they're doing building work, plastering, gardening. And I think people feel comfortable with people that come from a community to understand, because that way you're not just holding them accountable to do the right job, the community holds them accountable as well. And it just creates a slower build, but a stronger business. And I think it's so important. There was a hairdresser once that I actually went to school with the guy, and a barber, and I went to have my hair cut there once. And it was awful. I came out, you know what wonderful hair I've got. And I came out, and he'd made such a mess of it. And I thought, I was so upset, and annoyed. And I couldn't understand how he was in business. But he was serving a particular community who weren't into fashion. They just wanted the back shaved, the side shaves, and they wanted a template for the hairstyles. And that's exactly what they got with him. So he prospered, whereas if he was on the high street, he wouldn't have sort of got anywhere. But you see, again, looking at my own business with Accounts Direct, people say to me, why don't you just specialise in pubs? Why don't you specialise with dentists? Why don't you specialise with newsagents? And I say, because when it comes to people like us, we're not dealing with different businesses. What we're doing is we're obeying HMRC. So if HMRC put the rules out, and they are pretty rigid, then we've got to look at what HMRC want us to do. So it doesn't matter whether someone's a butcher, a baker, or a candlestick maker, it's exactly the same process. So we don't differentiate people by industry. We differentiate them by owner-run businesses. So you're a business person, you run your business, you serve your own customers, you're at the shop floor. It's you that we serve. If someone's got 27 shops and it's all under management, we can certainly work for them, but it's not our target market. We're looking at people who run their own businesses. So we create that community, and everything we do is around trying to service that sort of community the best. And Stuart's online today. I'd say hello to Stuart Monty. Stuart's doing one of our shows with us. he deals in job lots and clearance lines and wheels and deals and all sorts of things. And in future episodes, I'm going to tell a lot of stories that make fun of him. Thank you, Stuart. But you can niche your product in many ways. Now, I missed out once. I had a shop years ago, and we sold fancy goods, and at the time it was 50p gear. It's now 99 now pound stock, and it was a basically cheap discount shop. And two things happened. One of the ones was that I bought a little bit of a clearance line of about half a dozen ornaments at Capo di Monte. You remember Capo di Monte, those ornaments. And what happened is that we had a few ladies, I think 2 or 3 came in, and they saw the Capo di Monte ornaments, and I sold all 6 of them in a week. And this is back in the mid-80s. And the average price, they went between £50 and £60 an ornament. Now, contrast with that with what I was selling, which were little cheap ornaments for between £1 and £2.99. And most of them sold at £1. So for me to sell at that price, it was like amazing. And not only was there more profit, but there was a bigger percentage profit as well. And for weeks after that, I had people coming in, older ladies, and they kept asking me, can I get more? Can I get more? And I dismissed it. I just carried on selling my cheap rubbish that didn't make any money. At a 99 pence sale, how much could I make? Whereas a 50, 60 pound sale, but I missed the niche. I didn't hear it. I didn't hear them calling me. And that is something that I look back and I said, I could have turned that business around, because eventually it just died out because people expected me to be the cheapest, and I wasn't the cheapest. You can never be the cheapest. And so you begin to lose because you're attracting cheap all the time. They weren't coming for me. They weren't coming for anything that they couldn't get anywhere else. In fact, this guy came in once. I had a box of pliers outside in a box with a big ticket saying 50 pence. And he brought in the pliers and said, how much are these? I thought, 50 pence. So he took the pliers back outside, and he says, I can get them on the market for that. So he walked, about 500 yards to the market to find the stall to pay 50 pence that he'd already had in his hand. I thought, Jesus, I'm in the wrong business. And that was one of the deciding factors, that because he expected me to be cheap, because that's why he's buying off me. It goes on all the time. I see it with clients all the time. You've got to get a niche. You've got to get a USP. You've got to say, what is it that makes you? And the easiest place to find that USP is within the community that you belong to, and the area that you know. And that's really what I'm trying to say to you tonight. A lot of you are surprisingly bad at communicating, but you're probably good with the people that you know, and people that you know forgive you forgive it. And if I came into your place and I knew you, and I knew what you're about, and I knew your mum, or I knew your dad, or you knew your cousin, or you knew this, then you forgive it. You're not there to make judgments. Well, this guy's going to look after me, because you look after your customers, and they'll stay with you and prosper, and you can grow. I mean, it's like a client I'm particularly proud of, because I knew him a long time ago, and he started off in a van selling food from the van windows. One of these catering trailers, just drove around, plonked himself on the pavement, and went and sold. He's now opening his second restaurant. It's only been put on hold because of the current situations, but he had very particular ethnic cooking, and now it's become mainstream. Because, well, it's not because of him, it's become that mainstream, but he gets people buying, many people, probably more business from outside of the community, but it started with the community, and it's just another way of making people comfortable with you. I'm sure you've got loads of stories that you could share this with me. Chris, thank you, Chris. My account is always in my local coffee shop. Yes, because you're too cheap to buy the coffee yourself, so you wait for me. Hi, Keith. Keith McCoy's joined us. Keith sells financial services, so if you want a mortgage, that's our go-to person. So now what I'm going to do, because we've not got much time left, I'm getting signalled, you're babbling, Stephen, you're babbling, and I've got a question that's come in about what I was saying before. I've got hairdressers, and most of our clients are ladies from the Caribbean. My daughter wants to come and work with me, but she's not a good hairdresser. What else could she do? Yeah, I know, that's it with kids, isn't it? But then, actually, I'm glad you've asked me that. It's almost as if I've written that myself, because I've left that point out. You know what? There's an idea called clustering, where it's not so much the product that you sell, it's the facilities you've got to enable a sale. And what you've got is a specialised area. So you've got ladies coming in from the Caribbean. I was in a situation years ago where I knew somebody that was doing the same thing. He was specialising in with people who were from that part of the world. So when I asked the hairdresser, because I went in, and they said, well, black people's hair is different, and you need special treatment. I don't know how true that is, but that's what he told me. And he was building like on the side, like a counter, and I was asking, what are you doing there? So he says, well, a lot of our customers go over to the Caribbean, so we're turning it into a travel agent. So there you go, hairdressing, going straight into the Caribbean with a travel agency. So you're hitting them from hairdressing and travel, and I'm sure there's 100 other things they could do as well. And that's so Jade from Birmingham. That's it. Have you got room to do a complementary product that will hit that market? Maybe you could sell what I call those wig things, those add-ons. But it's not. What I'm trying to say is it's not the product. It's the community you've got. I know going into one of the Jewish shops, that's a deli and a supermarket, I've noticed in the last couple of years they've been selling newspapers and magazines, but they're all in Hebrew, so I only read the odd word. But I'm sure that they get a much bigger profit margin because they're coming in from Israel or New York or specialists. So because you can't get them anywhere and it's a specialist for that community, then they probably get an extra bit of bonus on them. So take what I'm saying, in essence, that you don't need to stick to a single product. What you're interested in is the relationships with the clients and the community that you're serving. So I hope that's of interest to you. I've got another one, David from Manchester. I've got a news agency in Boston. My sales are going down, the profit's not there anymore. Well, we're coming back to something that I just really talked about, because if you're a news agent and you're not in an affluent area, it may be that you're selling a lot of cigarettes and you're selling a lot of newspapers, which there's very little profit in. That so obviously you need a massive people coming through to get that profit. It's like with the lottery, you get pittance. Sometimes it's not worth handling it, but it's turnover, and we don't like turnover because that's just vanity. We're looking for the profit. That's vanity. That's sanity. So when I look at this, I'd looking at what it is, who it is you're serving, who's your customer base, and it's going to be a big thing, but you need to do it. You need to find out who's coming into your shop, what else they do, what sort of people they are, and what else can you begin to sell them, knowing it's coming from you. I mean, why do they come into you? If they're coming in less and less, and they're only coming to you to buy a pack of cigarettes, and they're only coming because you're the first shop they see, and you've got no reason for them to make them coming in, then they're going to start going to the supermarkets and wherever they happen to be. So you've got to find that and maybe do something else. Maybe you can convert your shop into something else if it really isn't doing anything. And I've got another one before we end up from Jade from Rochdale. I run a small but popular takeaway, but want to build my business brand in order to expand. How do I start? It's all about identifying who you are, who your customers are, and why they're coming to you. I mean, traditionally, it depends how much money you've got, but opening up more and more outlets can be very, very expensive. If you've got a strong brand, which means you've got a particular target market clientele, a bit like I was saying with the rest of my chat about the community shops and the hairdressers that serve a particular community, you've got a much stronger chance rather than something being very generic and you're competing with all the big names. But certainly, if you can identify who's buying your product, and we can start looking at that as a way of reaching out. A franchising operation is often quite good because all you've got to do is spend the money on establishing your brand and putting the manuals together and marketing for franchisors, which is much, much easier than it is to finding sites and finding thousands and tens of thousands of pounds each time for opening it. It all depends what you're trying to do. But I think at the end of the day, It's all about identifying why people come into you, trying to talk to the people that make up the community or the area of business that you're familiar with. I mean, another mistake I made was that many years ago, myself and my sister had a cash and carry dealing with traders. We were dealing with market traders, shopkeepers, basically the trade, and we opened up retail as well. And the trade, the cash and carry worked okay, but the retail was much more difficult for us, simply because we were trade suppliers, and it was a different mentality to retail. So there's another sort of way of segmenting your sort of potential target market and skill sector. Well, I'm being signalled that people are getting a bit bored of me, and we're coming to the end of the show. It's been real, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope you'll join me next week, when I'm not sure whether the right time is to jump on the bandwagon with COVID and coming out of this horrible, terrible business that we're in, and talk about COVID or something that's more relevant. But I'll work it out during the week. And final message from Chris: I have a groundworks company I want to expand. Is there any grants from government to help with taking extra staff? Chris, I've known you a long time. Just go and dig some more holes instead of digging me into one. Anyway, everyone, take care. I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.